All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and clone the starter repo. Head into your terminal, wherever you want to actually write this code, and run git clone that. And I'm going to call this athan app. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we open athan app in VS Code. All right, so from here, let's open our terminal. You can hit Control J to open that up. And we'll just run, I'm using pnpm, but you can use npm or yarn. It's all the same thing. I prefer pnpm. So run pnpm I, you can run npm I or yarn. Yeah, I think you can just run yarn and that'll install everything for you. And now we can run pnpm dev, or if you're on npm, it'll be npm run dev. And then if it's yarn, it'll be yarn dev. So there we go. And that should open it up on 5173. And there we go. So first thing we want to do is we actually want to remove a lot of the code in the app.tsx because we don't actually need it. So we're going to head into app source, app.tsx, hit Control B to close the sidebar. And I'm actually going to hide the terminal this time with Control J. And what we're going to do is remove basically the feature. We can remove the feature props as well because we're not going to need those. Get rid of that. And then we can actually get rid of all the places where feature is used. So we head down over here where we're starting to see errors. There we go. And we can basically get rid of this whole div like so. And we can hit save. Okay, so now let's get rid of some of the unused stuff. So we're going to get rid of this button over here. We're also going to get rid of this text like that because we don't need that anymore. And we're going to get rid of the count and set count like so. We're also going to get rid of this little div right here, the MX auto and max W 3XL. So it's going to be a line 10, line 56 now. So control click both of those to select both of those lines, and then control shift K to delete both of those lines. Then what we're going to want to do, we'll just replace this is dark mode conditional like so, because we only really need the icon. I'm going to just start pasting in some styles, some updates. So we'll replace the styles of this outer div up here like so. So go ahead and pause and update that. We're also going to, I'm going to add some comments too, so that way it's helpful for you so you know what's going on. We're also going to be adding a sticky header right inside this div, like so. We're going to replace the styles for both the H1 and its outer div, like so. So we're going to highlight both of these and paste in these new styles. We're going to change up the styles of this button wrapper div thing like so, and we're going to, I guess down here right after this div, so right above the footer, that's when we're going to close the header. There we go. And we can save that, and now you'll see we have a nice little like nav bar situation going on. Then what we're going to want to do is add a little content area. So this is going to be like a just the main area with that, like it says, grows and shrinks. So this is going to fill up the rest of the space, so that way the footer sticks to the bottom. But lastly, we do want to update these styles for the footer. So we will say we'll update the footer, and actually we don't have a div in here, so we're going to be adding a div. I don't know why it's wrapped like this. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why it's right out of view, so I'm going to actually highlight like so. Paste that. So we did add a div just now. And then we want to add the div's closing tag right above the footer's closing tag like so. And now you'll see that, well, it's kind of small, but we zoom in, there we go. So let's go ahead and start getting our Zustand store set up. I will clean this up towards the end of the tutorial, but for now I'm going to put everything in this one file, just so that it's like less cumbersome to navigate. So the first thing that we're going to do is define a few types. So we'll say export interface location, and I'm just going to paste in the actual properties for the sake of time. So go ahead and pause and add these. It basically contains a city, country, latitude, and longitude values. The other type that we're going to create is going to be a prayer time state, or sorry, prayer times state. Okay, and in here, this is going to contain. This is going to be our actual. This is going to be our Zustand store state. So this is going to contain a location state value and a location setter action. All right. So we'll actually just I'll put a comment up here that says types.ts, because that's where we're eventually going to move this. And I'll add another one down here that says store.ts, because that's where we're going to move the stuff down here. I'll also add a comment that says app.tsx, because that's what that is going to be. And for the store, we're going to create a store called, say, export const use prayer times store. And we're going to import the create function from Zustand. We're going to type it with prayer times state, like so. And then we're going to call that method. And we are going to be using local storage. So we're going to need to import persist from the Zustand middleware. And inside of the persist, first thing we're going to want to do is actually initialize our state, or create our state, I should say. So to do that, we're going to initialize location as a null. And we are going to, well, actually, this isn't right. So to do this, we want to define our Zustand store like this. So we have an anonymous function like that, and inside of here we will initialize the location state value as null, and the action we'll set it to this. So I'll say this is going to be a method that takes in a location and sets, or it sets, not, you don't type sets, but it sets the location to the location you're passing in. And because we can shorthand this in JavaScript, I'll actually just remove that. So that's the first part of the persist. The second part is the actual options. So in here, we're going to define the name of our local storage. So we'll say name prayer times storage. So this is going to be the local storage key that we use in the browser. Hello. I meant to be a comma, not a period. There we go. And for demonstration, we're only going to be storing the location in the storage for now. So we'll just say partialize, which lets us partialize what we actually store in local storage. And we'll say state. And inside of here, we'll just say location. And this is going to be the state.location. This is going to be whatever we're actually keeping in our state. And that is a lot of errors. Oh my God. Let's see. Where did I miss something? So we have persist. Dun, dun, dun. All right, here. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. So we'll say, da, 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 da. Wait. What did I just do? How did the error just disappear? Okay, that was weird. Maybe my PC was just lagging on me. That's probably what it was. All right. So we'll just chalk that up as a fluke. So there we go. Now our store is set up. And let's go ahead and actually use this in our application, in our app component. So when you're using Zustand, what you can do is similar to how in Redux you can select specific state. We want to do that same. We want to use that same selector approach with Zustand. So instead of grabbing everything from the state, we select individual things, and that's basically an optimization method to keep your to keep every part of your app from re-rendering every time a single part of your store changes. So this will make it so that only like whatever component you're using. So if we're using location, for example, use prayer times store. So what's going to happen in this case is that when location in the state updates, that's the only thing that will cause, that's the only part of the Zustand store that will cause the component to re-render. On the other hand, if we were grabbing like everything, like if we were just saying, I actually forgot how to do it because I haven't done it in so long, but if we were using the common way of just grabbing everything from the state, from the store, then anytime any single state value in the store changes, all the components that are listening to the store will re-render. There's probably a better way of saying that, but it's Ramadan and I'm fasting, so you're gonna have to forgive me on that. But yeah, read up on the Zustand docs; it'll make a lot more sense. So we're gonna select the location state, and we're gonna select. I'm just gonna like duplicate this down, and we'll select set location like so. So now we have both the location state and the set location action. And we're going to create a click handler. So we'll say const handle click equals athan. Okay. And in here, what this is going to do is we're just going to, like for demonstration purposes, just use a dummy location. So we'll say const dummy location is of type location, not locatino, location, like that. And in here, we're just going to set the city to New York, the country to USA, the latitude to, I'm actually just going to paste these in because I'm not about to like read these off. Oh, try that again. There we go. So go ahead and pause and copy these over. And then we're going to, after we have defined our dummy location, we're going to set location to dummy location, like that. All right, now we actually have to use this this click handler. So let's go ahead and add a button in the main section. So in here, we'll say button. And I'm just going to paste in some classes. You can pause and copy these over like that. And we'll just say set dummy location. And we'll add a on click. And we'll set this to handle click like that. So we can save that. So that's that. And it's not really doing anything. Well, it is doing something. And so I can show you what it's doing once I pull over my inspector. So this is what it's doing. You can see that the state is set to New York, yada yada. So we can actually clear this, refresh that, and then, refresh. So when we set our dummy location, you'll see that prayer time storage was created and the state was set to that. This is going to be hard to handle like this. So what we're actually going to do is I'm just going to paste in some HTML, some markup, if you will, that will render the actual contents of the store so that you can see it for yourself. So right underneath the button, we'll add a conditional. So this means if a location exists, and we add this because there's a chance that location could be undefined or null because the state might not even exist yet. So this basically just verifies. This does not a null check, but an undefined check or a falsy check, I believe. Yeah, this is a falsy check. So this is a falsy check to basically make sure that location is not falsy, which means null, undefined, or false. And if it's not the case, so if this is truthy, then it'll actually render the HTML. So when you save that, you can actually see there's our state. And to prove that I'm not lying, if we go back to the local storage, we can clear this out, refresh, set dummy location, and there you go. Cool. So let's just do a few more things to clean up this part, because we do want to start making this look like an actual site and not M6 React Starter. So up at the top, we're just going to replace M6 React Starter with athan times. And athan is that's just the Arabic word for call to prayer. And then down here in the footer somewhere over here, I'm going to replace the ready to start building with the a little bit of text, just to give the user a little idea of how the prayer times are calculated. So there's multiple methods to calculating prayer times. We're going to be using the Islamic Society of North America's method, just because I am in North America and I do not feel like adding a a way to configure the method. But if you feel industrious and you want to do so, then by all means go at it. And instead of clone this template, we'll say prayer times data provided by the athan API, which we'll paste down here like that. I'll just get rid of this space. So there you go. And this is a little bit of a, we actually need to correct this link. So let's change this href to the athan prayer times API. And let's just make sure that this opens. So because we're using a target blank, this should open in a new tab, excuse me. So there you go. So this is the actual API documentation. Feel free to peruse that. And otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. So what we're going to want to do now is start dealing with the actual prayer times. And what I mean by that is fetching them and displaying them. So first thing we're going to want to do is up at the types, let's add a new type called prayer times, or interface, excuse me. These times basically represent the different times of the day that we pray. So Fajr means dawn, sunrise. Well, yeah, sunrise is sunrise. So we actually call this Ishraq, but we'll just use sunrise for now. So this is when the sun has completely risen over the horizon. I know, really technical. Dhuhr, this is when the sun is overhead. I guess that's also called noon. And Asr, this is afternoon. So this is when the sun is like not quite in the not quite sunset range. It's between sunset and noon, basically. And then Maghrib is sunset when sun touches the horizon. And this is when we break our fast. And then Isha, this is when the sun has completely disappeared, aka evening date, and then Hijri date. So this is the Islamic calendar date, which follows the lunar calendar. So you're probably familiar with like the month of Ramadan, which is the current month that we're in right now. That is one of the months of the Hijri date. And this is just a date from the it's an Islamic calendar date, basically. So this is useful for folks who are praying, for folks who are fasting, to basically keep track of what day of Ramadan it is, for example. But, it's also used for all the other important dates of the Islamic calendar year. So it's a nice little thing to have. It's pretty standard for athan apps. So that's the prayer times interface. Then what we're going to want to do is update our Zustand store state, interface with a few new additions, namely the prayer times. So, this is using the interface that we defined earlier. We're also going to be using a isLoading Boolean, and this is basically going to be used by the when we're doing fetch requests. Because oh my god, I cannot speak. Because fetch requests are asynchronous, we need a way to kind of indicate that the request is currently in progress. Of course, the error state. So this is like if the fetch request returns an error, we'll store it here, and then adding a fetch prayer times action. So now you'll see that we actually have an error showing up in our store, and that's because we aren't abiding by some of these these required properties. So let's go ahead and update our store accordingly. So first thing we're going to want to do is above the location, we'll default prayer times to null, like so. We'll also set is loading to false, and we'll set our error to null. And then we're going to update set location later, but we'll keep this as it is for now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to define fetch prayer times. And this is going to be an async call. So because this is a fetch request. All right. And inside of the function body, we're going to do first is we're going to grab the location from the state. So there's different ways to do this, but this is a simple one. So we're just destructuring the location from, oh wait, we need to pass and get first. So this is the state getter. So this is the Zustand state setter. This is the Zustand state getter. We need to grab that from the actual parameters and call it. And when we call this gives us basically whatever the whatever's inside of the state. And because location's inside of the state, we can destructure it like so. All right. Why am I getting an error here? Oh, just because I'm not using it. Okay. So first thing we're going to want to do is a null check. So we'll say if there's, or a falsy check. So if there's no location, we're just going to return. So the idea here is that if there's no location, there's no prayer times to fetch, because we can only fetch prayer times based on location, right? Because depending on where you are in the world, these times vary, right? So you have parts of the world where, depending on the year, the sun never sets, right? So we do need to have the location in order to determine, where did I go? In order to determine what the prayer times are. So next thing we're going to want to do is we'll first set loading to true, so, or is loading to true, and we will set our error to null on an it. So this is just like in the case that the last time this ran, there was an error. We just want to like start from a clean slate. So this will just reset it to null. So then we're going to do a try catch. All right. And inside of our try, we're going to fetch, well, I'm going to actually just paste the URL in here. So we'll define our response. So we'll say const response, await fetch, and this is the URL for the API. So go ahead and pause, copy this over. And what we're going to be doing is grabbing the latitude from the location and the longitude from the location. And we're going to be hard coding the method too. And you remember earlier where I mentioned that we're using the Islamic Society of North America method to calculate the prayer times. This is part of the API. So 2 is the code that corresponds with the ISNA method. Like I said, if you want to make this configurable for the user, you can. I just don't feel like doing that, but you know, a nice little extension if you want to make this your own. So first thing we're going to do after we call the after we actually call the API is we're going to check if the response if the call succeeded. So we're going to say if not response dot okay. So what this means is if the response failed, then we're going to throw new error failed to fetch prayer times. This is not the most graceful way to handle this, but it's an interim thing for now. There are definitely more graceful ways to handle this. When you throw, this is going to basically like white screen your UI, but it should be sufficient for now. So if and throwing also like exits this this function block. So assuming that the response is okay, then we will say const data equals await response.json, and this is just going to grab the response, set it to JSON, and then in the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually check if we have data and if we have data timings. So we'll say if not data dot data or not data dot data dot timings. And the reason we're doing this is because timings or data can potentially be undefined. So if there's a chance that we don't have data, this will at least just ensure that we have data and that we have the data timings. So what we're going to do here is we're also going to throw. So we'll say, I'm just going to copy this, paste that there, and instead of this error, we'll say invalid response format. Okay. Now, assuming this didn't throw, then we're going to say const timings equals, I'm just going to copy this right there. So this is the actual the prayer timings, and we're going to say const new prayer times. We're going to set this to the type, or the, yeah, I'll just say type from now on, even though it's an interface. Prayer times, and here we'll say fetched is timings.fetched. So this is what it actually looks like in the API response. I'm gonna copy these down, and actually there was probably no reason to do that, but oh well. Yeah, that was whatever. So we'll say sunrise. Actually, I'll show you a neat little VS Code trick that you can do, because I need to capitalize all these, but we'll do that in a second. So here we'll say Dhuhr. Down here we'll say Asr. Down here we'll say Maghrib. And then down here we'll say Aisha. And then here's a neat little trick for you. So I'm just gonna select all these with, I'm just clicking Control D a bunch of times, and that selects the next instance of this string. So if I double click this, hit Control D, I don't know how many times that was, like 5 times. And then I'm gonna do Control Shift right to select all the text to the right of the previous cursor. And then I'm gonna hit Control Shift P. And here what I can do is maybe it's Pascal case. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So you'll see that it actually converted all this. Obviously, like, you know, that took forever. It was a lot slower when I was showing you, but when you're flying through this, sometimes it saves you a little bit of time. So we'll say Hijri date. So I'm actually going to copy what the string of the Hijri date is, because it's going to be a little bit, I figured it out previously, and, you know, I don't want to go through it all over again, but basically we're grabbing the Hijri day. So we're constructing a string using the string template literals. So we're grabbing from the data, there's a date object. That date object contains the object Hijri, because there's also Gregorian, which is the just normal date, like January, February, March, April, etc. So there's date Gregorian, and then there's date Hijri. So we're grabbing the Hijri date. So we'll say the actual day, and then the month, and we'll use English because, you know, obviously the default would be Arabic, and well, we're creating this for English speakers, so we'll use the English substring, and then we'll grab the actual year, and then H to indicate that it is the Hijri date. Okay, so once we do that, then down here we can set the prayer times to new prayer times and is loading to false. Why are you showing me so much red? Jeez Louise. Did I do something wrong here? Load. Okay. There was literally no issue. I don't know why I was doing that. All right. So we do that, and then what we need to do next is catch the error. So if there is an error, we will set our error to the error, And we will need to type this because, well, we don't have the types of the API's errors. So in this case, we'll just say instance of error. So if it's if error has so this is basically going to check the type of error. If error is a error type, then it will have an error message. So we will set the error to the error message. Otherwise, we'll just say unknown error, just so that we can dot our I's and cross our T's. And then we'll set is loading to false because, well, is loading is false. So there we go. So why are you screaming at me? Date is missing in type fetched, but required. Oh, I'm dumb. I forgot to add date up here. So we'll say date is data. So this is the actual like Gregorian date. So date dot data dot date dot readable. And there we go. So no type errors. I do have a type error up here. It's just because I'm importing use state, but I'm not using it. But we're going to use it at some point, so I'm not going to get rid of that right now. Cool. So we've successfully updated our state. Now what we need to do, or sorry, our Zustand store. Now what we need to do is update our actual app. So let's scroll down here, and underneath set location, we're going to be importing. I'm just going to say, oh, by the way I duplicate lines down is I'll just select any part of the line and I'll hit Alt-Shift-Down, and this will let me duplicate it as many times as I want. So as long as I'm holding Alt-Shift, anytime that I hit down, it'll duplicate it one row below. So I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna change this to prayer times. I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna change it to is loading. I'm going to grab this one, change it to error, and I'm going to grab this one and change it to fetch prayer times. Cool. So now let's, I'm going to rename handle click to handle set dummy location. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. It's because we're going to actually add another button to fetch fetch the prayer times based on the dummy location. And this is just temporary for now. This is just to like show you how this works. So the next handler we're going to define down here is, and again, the way I modify both of those strings at the same time is I'll highlight the whole thing by double clicking it, and then I'll hit Control D, and that'll select the next instance of it. And then they'll both be selected. So that's how I do it. It's basically like doing a control find, all, and replace. Yeah, play around with the VS Code shortcuts. You won't regret it. But yeah, so that was Control D to do that. So the next part down here, under handle set dummy location, we're going to say const handle fetch, and this is going to be an async function. So async that, and inside of the break, I spelled async wrong. Async, there we go. And inside of here, we'll just say await fetch prayer times. Cool. And we'll then define a button down. Where do we want to put it? Let's put it underneath the location condition. So here we'll just say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to just copy some classes over. Actually, I'm going to copy the whole button over. So we'll do this. We'll just paste this in here. So it's basically identical classes to the set demo location, but it's green instead of blue. This is going to fetch the actual prayer times. And then underneath it, we'll say, we'll do a conditional for the loading state. So we'll say is loading, and so if is loading, that is not is loading, is loading. There we go. So if loading is true, and so this is saying is like, if loading is true, then do this, right? Otherwise, this whole like conditional will just not run. So we'll put a p tag, and then we'll say loading prayer times, ... Okay. So when you click that, you see that it popped up for a second, it's gone. But we actually need to display the prayer times. So I do want to handle the error first. So we'll say error. So if there's an error, meaning if error is true, we're gonna, I'm actually gonna grab this whole thing and paste that like that. Cool. Instead of loading prayer times, we'll say error, and the error is going to be open curly braces. We'll pass in the error state value, and then we will add a button down here. Where is it? No, maybe I won't do that. We'll add a button down here. We'll say class name is underline. Actually, for the p tag, we'll also say we want this to be red. So we'll say class name is text red 600. Okay, and inside the button, we want this error to also give the user the ability to try the fetch request again. So we'll say on click athan fetch prayer times like that. Cool. And then inside of here we'll say retry. Cool. So I wonder if I can like butcher this real quick. Let's make a nonsensical longitude like that. So when you hit fetch, I should probably save it. So when you hit fetch prayer times, no way. Is it actually getting it? Interesting. How's it getting that? Huh. Maybe if I say New York like that. Wow. No errors, huh? It's kind of wild. Oh, wait, no. Oh my God, I'm dumb. I have to set the dummy location first. So then there we go. Fetch prayer times, retry. Cool. And you can actually see the error in the console like that. Cool. So, but we don't want that to happen. So set dummy location again. Yep, failed to fetch prayer times because that longitude is ridiculous, right? So now when we set dummy location, yeah, cool. So let's see. So now that we have that kind of figured out, and again, that is temporary. That's just a placeholder for now. What we're going to do next is, it was bothering me that there was no space though. So I will add a space like that. Cool. So what we're going to do after this is right underneath the error, we're actually going to render the prayer times. So we'll say, we'll open a conditional, like so. We'll say, where is my ampersand? There it is. And in here, we are going to add a div, which I'm going to paste in the styles like that. So we'll close this div like that. We'll say prayer times galore, save that. And so that's what it's going to look like. But we're not going to do it like this. We'll actually replace this with a paragraph. Let's give the classes a font medium, just so that looks kind of pretty. Wow, I'm struggling. And inside of here, we will say prayer times dot date and prayer times dot hijri date. I'll actually put this inside of a parentheses so that it's obvious. So we'll save that. And then when we fetch, it'll show us today is March 6th, 2025, and it's the 6th of Ramadan, 1446 Hijri, which is correct. So then we want to actually start rendering the times. So I do need here, let me show you what I'm going to do first, and then I'll show you what we need to do to fix it. So, because it is going to be busted. So we'll say Fajr, and in here, we're going to we're going to render prayer times dot Fajr, like so. Hello. Okay. and I'm going to do the same thing that we did earlier. So Fajr, sunrise, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and I'm just going to select all these and transform to Pascal case. There we go. So now you'll see, well, when we load these, well, now this is cool and all, but 1753, well, no one speaks in military language. So, and 1908, that's disgusting. So what we want to do is just introduce a little helper util function to clean this layout up a little bit, or not layout, the format for the dates. And I'm just going to paste that in here because it's pretty straightforward. And you can pause and copy it over and mull it over if you need to. But later on down the line, I'm going to be adding this to a utils file, which let's just indicate that over here. So we'll say utils.ts, and this is the actual function. So little JS doc for you. But basically it accepts a time string and it'll convert it into what you expect out of a 12-hour format. So yeah, go ahead and pause, copy this over, and then once you're done, head back down to the prayer times, and I'm going to double click prayer times, Control D a bunch of times, and then Control Shift right, and then I'm going to do Control X so that I can cut them to my clipboard, and then I'll say format to 12-hour open parentheses and then paste and save that. And now you'll see that everything got formatted real nice and pretty. So what we have here is fine, but we need to extend this so that we can allow the user to fetch the prior times for a specific day. So for example, if I want to know tomorrow what time I should stop eating at, well, I need to be able to get the Fajr time for tomorrow morning, right? And the way this one currently works is it's just getting the prayer times for today. So let's go ahead and extend this so that we actually have a date selector that we can use to basically choose any date we want and pass it along to the API. So that way we can get the prayer times for that specific day. So to do that, let's start at the top. And inside of our prayer time state, we want to add underneath the location the selected date, which is going to be of type date. Cool. We also want to add a set date action, which is going to accept a date property like so. And it's going to return nothing. Cool. Okay. So now inside of our store, we want to initialize our selected date as new date, and this just basically means today. So this is gonna set the selected date to today, and then inside of, I actually want to update set location, so that this is kind of like unrelated to the date, but when we set the location, I don't want to have to click fetch prayer times. I want to just get the prayer times for that date. So to do that, we will use the getter, and we'll say fetch prayer times. Wait, why was that giving me an error? No, that's right. Okay. And then inside of fetch prayer times, we're going to want to grab the selected date like so. And we want to first format it. So I'm going to paste this in here so that it's like easy to read. I'm also going to be adding a comment in here for calling the athan API. So we're going to first want to format the date in the way that the API expects. And then we want to pass down this formatted date to a modified version of this string right here, which I will paste like so. And all I did right here is I just added the formatted date per URL query parameter before latitude. And once we do that, let's just make sure that I figure out why I'm getting so many errors. Okay. Underneath set location, I need to set the date, right? Because we defined this. Yeah. See, now we're cooking with oil. So say anfn anonymous function. Thank you. And we'll say this is going to accept the date. And inside of the function block, we're going to set the selected date to whatever date we passed in. And so then we're going to actually get the prayer times with the date. So we'll say get fetch prayer times. And this will just let us have functionality where when we whenever we like choose a new location, it'll fetch the prayer times for that location. And whenever we change the date, it'll also fetch the prayer times for the new date that we chose. So regardless of whether we change the location or the date, we're always fetching the prayer times. Cool. So I think that's all we needed for the state. Now I am going to be I'm not going to be adding the date to the local storage because it doesn't really make any sense to. Like, it makes sense for me to be able to close my browser, reopen it, keep the location, but I want the date to be only really stored in the in memory when I'm actually using the app, because it doesn't really make any sense to initialize it from local storage, or to store it there at all, to be honest. So once we have that set up, we are actually going to be creating a new component called date selector. So I'm going to just say date selector.tsx. Whenever we split this out, we can move this to its own dedicated file. But for now, we can keep this as is. And I'm just going to make some space over here, and we'll say RAFC. So this is a shorthand. If you have the React snippets, these snippets right here, ES7, React, Redux, React Native snippets. So RAFC. I'm just going to get rid of that import, and this will just give us a bootstrapped boilerplate for a component. This component is not going to return div app, but we can keep that for now. So in here, we're going to want to we're going to want to select the, not the location, but the selected date. Dude, what? Sorry. And set date from the store. But let's replace this div with this div. So go ahead and pause and copy these styles over, these Tailwind styles over as we go along. This is going to be the outer container of the date selector. At the top, we're going to have a heading with the text prayer times. And then right underneath it, we're going to have another div with these styles. So again, go ahead and pause and copy these over. And in here, we're actually going to have a few buttons. So the first button is going to be our, we're going to say go back previous day. And well, like that. Actually, yeah, there we go. So go ahead and pause and copy those styles over. So this button is going to let us navigate back to the previous day. From React icons, we're going to import fi chevron left, like so. And we're going to give it a size of 16. Cool. And just make sure to close that. Let me actually save this. There we go. And so this is going to be our go back to the previous day button. After that, we're going to have an input for the actual date. So we'll say date input. So in here, we're going to have a input. We'll say type is date, and we'll give it the following classes. So go ahead and pause and copy these over for the date input. And we are going to have a value. Yeah, so I'm going to keep these blank for now, but we are going to be adding a change handler and a value here. So, and same thing goes for the button, I guess. So inside the button, just make sure to actually add a click handler. So we'll say on click, and we're not going to pass anything right now because we haven't created the function yet, but we'll get to that in a second. So then we want to do a go next forward go forward / next day button, and this is going to be very similar to the other button. So we'll just say button, and then this is going to have an on click. It's also going to have a disabled. Sorry, not disabled. I'm just going to have an on click, and then you're going to want to copy the classes over. I believe they're the same classes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, same classes. And for this one, we're going to use a fi chef. Huh. Okay. Well, it was showing up before here. Nope. Sorry. We'll just do comma fi chevron right. I don't know why my IntelliSense is not working. Oh, it's I didn't have an open. Okay, sorry. I wasn't defining it as a component. So we'll say fi chevron right, like that. And this is going to have a size of 16, like so. Cool. And the last thing we're going to have is a button that basically resets the date to today. So we'll say button. And this button is actually going to, we're going to style this using a conditional. Yeah, I should probably get started with the actual functions. So up above the return, let's start creating some of the functions. So go ahead and I'm just going to paste them in here. And these are very, these are very simple. So they're like, not anything too crazy. So the first one that we're going to want to grab is the go to previous day method. So go ahead and copy this over. And once you get that, we're actually going to use this in this button right here. Okay. So this is going to allow us to go back. The next one we're going to want to grab, or the next one we're going to want to define actually, is go to the next day. And we're going to use this one in this button right here, like so. Then we want to grab, then we want to actually, or sorry, not grab, then we want to create a new method called isToday. And this is going to check if the selected day is the same as today. And we're also going to want to define a go to today method, which I will define under here, like so. And then we're going to use both of those down here in this button. So if you take a second, let me just remove this, pause and copy this, and I'll explain what's going on here. So the idea behind this last button is it's going to be disabled if depending on the response from isToday. So if today comes back as true, then we don't want to have a reset to today button. Otherwise, then we should be able to set it no problem, right? So otherwise, when we click it, it should reset the day to today. And then inside of the class name, we're also using isToday to define some custom styles for that button. So if today is true, then it'll use these styles. Otherwise, it'll use these styles. And then inside of the actual button, we'll use the text today. And then the last thing that we want to do is we want to define a date change handler. And this is going to be used for the date picker. So I do need to import change event from React. And this handle date change is going to be used down in the input over here. So we'll set the value, or actually we'll set on change first. So there's our on change. And then we actually need to grab a, define, a new function. We'll put it right above is today. And this is going to actually handle the formatting of the input date. And this is just going to make sure that, that the input date is the correct format that we need for displaying it. So down in the input, we'll just paste this here. So this is just format, input date, selected date. So whatever the selected date is, we'll make sure that it appears in a format that we define within the method. So this is this is a pretty it's a pretty hefty component, but you'll see the utility of it once we bring it in a second. So now that we have that defined, let's head down to our app, and we'll actually, let's go down to where the fetch prayer times was. There you go. So we're gonna get rid of we don't need this anymore, the loading prayer times. We're gonna use a different way of showing the loading status later. But for now, let's just get rid of this button with the handle fetch, the fetch handler, and we'll just say I'm gonna add a comment. I'm gonna say date selector, and and then inside of here, we'll say location. So if there's a location, then we'll render the date selector component. Cool. So I think we can save that. And there we go. So now there's a little bit of magic. Now that I probably should have imported this first and then, or defined this first and then showed you how it was built up. But yeah, so now we can actually select our date. So you'll see the actual time changes. There was an issue where when you first load, nothing shows up. And this is because we don't have an on mount. We can get rid of handle fetch. This isn't being used anymore. So we need to import use effect from the React package and an anonymous function. And inside of here, we will say, so we're just going to fetch the prayer times when we have a location, but no data yet. So we'll say if we have a location, but no prayer times, then we will fetch the prayer times like that. And let's add some dependencies. So the dependencies here are going to be location. And this is just like the things that if these change, then the use effect will run again. Prayer times, fetch prayer times. Cool. Then we just got to close this like so. So now when we load, when we mount, it actually fetches the prayer times. And then when we change the date, it also fetches the prayer times. And you'll see the today button. So then we have the date picker. So nothing too fancy. You can change it however you want, but it works for now. So last thing I want to do is just some upkeep. So inside of the app, I realized that I actually don't need this outer div. This is for the sticky header. This used to have multiple buttons in it, but now it doesn't. So we can actually get rid of this. So I just selected those lines and hit Control-Shift-K. So that got rid of those. Then what we want to do is inside of the main content area, I'm going to add a div under here. So we'll say location button, All right. And over here, I'll just say, div.mb6 like that. And then this is going to wrap everything down to the date selector like so. Okay. And then underneath the date selector, where we have our error, we're actually going to be wrapping this in a display. So we'll say, I don't know, just say prayer times display, and we'll say div dot min height 250 pixels. Dude. Oh, it doesn't like that. Okay. I'll just control X that like so. There we go. I think it didn't like the non-text characters. So then we will close this div right before this one like that. And that's just gonna, so that's just gonna make sure that it meets a specific minimum height. And then, I think there's just one last thing. Oh, wait, no. I removed the loading when what I was supposed to do was move the loading. Whoops. So it's okay. We can just like type it over again. So down here, actually we don't want to show the prayer times if it's loading. So we'll say, we don't want to show the prayer times if we don't have a location. So we'll say location and then above here we'll say, why can I not find my curly braces? There we go. So we'll say is loading. We removed this, but if you didn't remove it, then just move it down here. Where's my ampersand? There we go. So we'll say loading prayer times ... L loading prayer times. Okay. And then we'll say, if there's no location, we want to add a little bit of a check here. So we don't want to show loading. We don't want to show prayer times if there's no location, right? So we'll say if no location. I'm just going to copy this because I never find my ampersands when I need them. If no location, then we'll say p tag, no location set. Choose a location to see prayer times. And I am going to actually paste in some classes real quick. So we'll say like that. So go ahead and pause and add those classes in. And yeah, so let's go ahead and save this and see how it looks. And now we can start dealing with this dummy location situation. So obviously we want to be able to set our location and or be able to actually use our current location. So if you've ever seen like when applications are like requesting permission to use your current location and all that kind of stuff. So we want to go ahead and set that up. So let's create a new component. Let's go up to the store. I know it's a little bit crazy. So here, above date selector, we'll say we'll create a new component called location search, like so, and we'll use the React snippets again. So RAFC, get rid of that, and we'll call this location search. And here we'll say search me, just for now. So I am doing this because, unlike the last time, I actually do want to show this component getting built in real time. So that way you're not just taking my word for it. So inside of the main content area, we'll actually, for now, just put this above the existing dummy button. Or maybe I should put it below the existing dummy button. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put it, we will put it inside of this div, but underneath the location. so that it shows up right above prayer time. So we'll say location, search, like that. And like I said, we'll eventually get rid of this, but I just want you to be able to see it. So it says search me. So now let's go ahead and start modifying it. So we're going to be using I have no idea how to pronounce this, but it's nominatime. I don't know. I'm just going to paste some interfaces over here for you. These are interfaces that define the response for this API. So go ahead and pause and copy these over. And basically what these represent is this is the response from the API call that we're going to make. And then this is the response for when we are doing a reverse geolocation search. And what that means is when we're sending, well, here, I'll just show you. So let's go inside location search, and we're going to actually finally get rid of that use state import error, because we're going to use some states. So we're going to say state. Where's my snippet? There we go. Okay, so we're going to define the first state as the search query, and this is going to be where we set search query. So this is going to be where we type the city or whatever location we're going to be searching. Then we're gonna define a is searching state, and this state is basically going to be the same as the is loading state, but just going to handle like whether a search is in progress or not. And then we're going to define a search results array. Results, like so. And this is going to be, why are we doing this? It works every other time. There we go. So we'll say location. Oh, wait. I'm trying to type this. So we type it by opening up a caret, location, array, and then we will just set it to an empty array. So then we want to, actually, I probably should have grabbed the store values out first. So let me just grab these real quick. So we're going to need these from the app over here because we're going to be using the location from the store. And then I guess right underneath here, we will define a ref. We'll say const search ref equals use ref HTML div element, and it's going to be default to null. And I need to actually import use ref from React like so. Cool. So now let's actually start setting this up. I think we should start with the HTML, because that is by far going to be the most complicated part of this. So we'll do it like this. I'm going to start pasting things and like pasting styles and explaining, or pasting markdown, I should say. Or is it markup? I always forget. And I'll explain like what we're doing as we go along. So first part is going to be the container for the entire thing, as well as the initial search box. So just grab all those, and we will close the outer container first, like that. And then inside of this flex box over here, this is where we're going to actually have our search text input. So we're going to add a div, and then we're going to import fi search like that. And we'll give this the following class names. That. And then we'll close this div like so. and then we'll add an input, which will have a type of text as well as the following classes. So go ahead and pause and copy those down. We'll add a placeholder. Say search for a city, ... Then we will we'll give it the value of search query, and then the change handler on change, like that. So do athan. We're going to pass. Whoa, sorry. We're going to pass the event to set search query e.target.value, like that. And then we're going to say on focus. This is just going to be a, we're not going to pass any events, but we're going to say if search query, then set is searching to true. And then we're going to say on key down equals athan. So this is going to let us this is going to let us detect what key is actually being hit. So if we're hitting the enter key, then we will handle search, which we have not defined yet, but we will define in a second. Okay, so we can close this input, and then we'll add a button down here. So we'll say button. We'll say button type. So this is just going to be a like a clear the text area button. So we'll give it the following class names, or classes, I should say. Just go ahead and pause and copy those. And then when we click on this, we'll say on click, and this is going to be just a inline function. So we'll set search query to just an empty string. Close that button. Then we'll add an icon inside. We'll say fix size equals 16, like so. Cool. And then we just need to define handle search. And by just define, I mean this is going to be an actual pretty big search. So I'll just comment it out for now. And oh, of course we have errors. We have errors because I didn't close any of these divs. So let me just close those divs real quick. Okay. I think that's sufficient. Is that a sufficient number of divs? I believe so. Oh, this needs to be inline. That's fine. There we go. So now we can save. There you go. So obviously this doesn't do anything yet because we don't have handle search doing anything. But if you click on this, it clears it out. So now let's actually define handle search. So uncomment this, and then we'll define handle search. Up top, we'll put it underneath the search ref. Actually, tell you what, we'll put it underneath the state. Right. So so we'll say const handle search, and this is going to be an async function. So athan from the JavaScript snippets, and in here we'll say if, come on, there we go, if there is no search query, so if search query dot trim, like that, then we will return. So I can get rid of this bracket, just say return. So we don't need an actual function block if we're just doing it like that. Otherwise, we can set is searching to true, and then we will have our try catch. So inside of our try catch, go ahead. I'm going to paste the actual fetch, which contains the URL and everything. So Basically, we are calling the nominatem openstreetmap.org/search format, and then encode URI component. So encode URI component is a built-in method. So this isn't something that we're importing or anything. We pass in the search query, and then we just want to limit it to 5. You can change this to whatever you want, but I'm being nice to this free OpenAPI service. So I'm not trying to bankrupt them with this tutorial. And pass in the headers like so. And this is basically just going to pass on our search query to them, and then we will handle the response. So we'll say if response is not okay, so response.okay, then we will throw new error, failed to search for locations, okay, and otherwise we can actually handle the data. So we'll say const data equals await response.json. We'll say JSON, that's a method, and we'll say const. So now we're actually going to transform the response to our location format. So I'm just gonna paste this down here. Go ahead and pause and copy it. So what this is doing is just defining an array of locations from the data by just mapping things over. You don't gotta understand it too much. Just go ahead and pause and copy it, and then once you're done, we can say set search results locations, and if there's an error, we will catch the error by console.erroring error searching for locations and whatever the error was, and then we'll just set search results to an empty array like so. Cool. I really want to save this. I hope it doesn't explode on me. Okay, it didn't explode, so that's good. Expected an assignment or function call. Oh, is it because I didn't? Yeah, I was supposed to inline it. There we go. So, so now we can say hello, and I'm going to open up my console inspector, and we're going to go to our network tab. I'm going to run this again, and then you can actually see the response called, and so there's our preview, there's our response. So you'll see the response actually did come back with some stuff. So so we're gonna be using this, right? So this is like a village. This is the display name, all this kind of stuff. So we're gonna actually show this. Well, we're gonna show it as a pop-up, but in a second. So now that we kind of have the search button and stuff set up, let's also add underneath this div. Let's add another button. So we will give this one the following classes. So we were previously using enter to search, but now we need an actual search button. So we'll use these classes, and we'll say on click handle search like so, and then we'll just we'll use the text search like that, and there you go. Now we have an actual search button, so that's cool. And then underneath this div, so with 2 divs left remaining, we want to have a current location button. So we are going to define the button like so. You can just go ahead and pause and copy these classes and everything over. We need to import this icon like that, and we need to define handle use current location. So this is going to be very similar to handle search. It's going to use the actual geolocation from your browser. So we'll put this underneath handle search. So we'll say const handle use current location equals athan. Cool. And inside of the actual function block, we're going to say if navigator this is a browser API. So if navigator, geolocation, so if geolocation is available, then we'll say navigator.geolocation.get current position. So this is gonna first like request from you permission to actually get your location. So we're gonna say async. Ooh, async arrow function. Nice. Never tried that one before. So we're gonna say position. There really isn't a type for this one. So here we'll grab the position coordinates. So we'll say const latitude and longitude from the position.coords. And when we have those, we're actually going to more or less copy what we did with the search, right? So we'll add a try catch right here. I'm going to save this to format it. There we go. So inside of the try, we are going to call the nominatum API, and this time we're just going to pass the latitude and longitude of our current location. And similarly to before, we're going to do if the response is not okay, then we'll throw an error, and then we will actually grab the data. If the response is okay, we'll define a new location using the response, right? So this is all like similar to what we were doing before, and then we will set the location based on the new location. Otherwise, we will say if there's an error, we will log the error, but then we'll actually use a fallback, right? So, yeah. So because we can still use the coordinates even if we don't get the actual location name. Oh, I should probably explain. So, so the reverse response. This is basically like us getting the name from the coordinates. So we pass the coordinates to get the name, right? And that lets us actually show like the name text of where we are. But assuming that your coordinates don't correspond with the name, that's fine. You can just still use your actual latitude and longitude, because that's what is being used for the athan API to get your location, because it uses it doesn't use a city, it uses your actual GPS coordinates. And we can just say current location instead of like whatever city or whatever it is that you're in. So there we go. So now we have a use current location button down over there. I am not going to click this because, well, I don't want to dox myself. So let's start with the pop-up. So right underneath the use current location button, we're going to say if is searching is true and search results.length. And the reason we want to use this searching is true is because we don't want this thing to show up when like we don't want this pop-up to just always be on the screen. So and is searching is going to be there whether or not like this is going to be whether the search is actually executing and whether you're still typing in the input box. So we'll say is searching is true and the search results length is greater than 0 and so in here we're going to have a div like so. All right, let's close it so that we don't have the same issues as before. Go ahead and pause and copy the styles over. And inside of this div, we're going to have an unordered list. Excuse me. Again, go ahead, pause, copy that. And then inside of the unordered list, we're going to iterate over the search results. So search results.map. And in here, we're going to say result and index. And then we're going to return the following JSX. So we're going to have a list with a key of index, because I don't have a better way of doing this right now. But this is probably not the best way to do it. But yeah, like I said, I didn't really think of a better way to do it at this point. I probably use the ID for the actual result, but so inside of the list, we'll have a button. We'll give it a type of button, right? And we'll give it the following classes. So pause and copy those over. And then we'll add a click handler, and we'll say handle location select result. I do need to get rid of these outer braces because this is an inline method, like that. And then we can close that button. Inside of it, we're going to have a FI map pin icon, like that. And we're going to give it the following classes. So we'll say class name, give it a margin right of 2, text gray 500, text gray 500, sorry, dark text gray 400, like that. And then close that. And then inside of here, I'm just going to paste another div. So this is going to be the actual display. So we're going to have an outer div, right? Text left. It's going to show the city. And then we're going to have another div that shows the actual country. And yeah, we need to define handle location select, which is actually going to deal with, you probably guessed it, selecting the actual location. So let's go to above handle use current location. We'll say const handle location select. Like we said, this is going to take in the selected location, which is going to be of type location, like that. And then inside of here, we're going to set the location to selected location. We're going to set the search query to an empty string. We're going to set the search results to a empty array. And then we're going to set is searching to false, like that. Cool. So now when we type in here, we'll say Los Angeles, and you'll see there's a little pop-up that shows all the results for Los Angeles. If we say Mordor, I did not expect anything to come up, but it's nice to know there's a bunch of Mordors. So so that's that part. And then the last part, or the last two parts, I should say, are so this is handling the case that is searching is true and that we actually have results. Then we want to handle like if there's no locations found. So if I type a bunch of nonsense here, right, nothing shows up, even though like something did actually happen. So I want to show that nothing showed up. So we say is searching and search results dot length is 0 and search query and so search query because if there's actually something over here, then we want to return a div with the following classes and text. So go ahead and pause, copy these classes over. So it's a div with a paragraph tag inside. And then once you're done copying those over, go ahead and save. And now when we type something here, it'll actually say no locations found. See? So there you go. So the last part is outside of this div, so right before the closing div, we actually want to show the location that was selected, right? So we want to say location and location dot city. Oh my God, there we go. And we'll open up parentheses, and in here we will add the following div. So go ahead and pause and copy these styles over, and we'll say fi map pin icon, class name, margin right 2, and close that. And then down here, we'll have a span that will contain the location.city and the location.country, if it exists, because this could be undefined. Why am I getting an error over here? I'll figure that out in a second. Location country, like that. Then we will add backticks, comma. Then inside of here, where's $? There we go. Say location.country. So if there's location.country, we'll format it like so. Otherwise, just don't show this, because there's sometimes that locations don't actually have a country. Weird little error, I know. And then I think we just need to close this div down here like that, and we save that. And now you'll see Mordor, Poland showed up. So if I say Los Angeles, I can select that, and it updates the little location tag. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and remove the dummy location stuff. So down wherever, yeah, down here. Let's first remove the handle set dummy location, so we can get rid of that. And then it's gonna fail because we're currently trying to access that inside of the button. So let's just remove that button by just selecting all of this stuff. Like that. And then we can save that, and there we go. So there are a few things that I want to wrap up in this part real quick, because I realized that there's some missing functionality. So let's head back into the location search, and we're going to let's see, right under the use states, we're going to define a use effect, and inside this use effect, we're going to be handling clicks outside of the search box. So currently, the way it works is when something actually happens, if I click outside, the search box stays open unless I actually select something, or if I hit the X button. Actually, wow, it stayed open even with the X button. So I need a way to actually collapse this pop-up. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that that search ref that we defined earlier, and we'll say const handle click outside. So this is if we click outside of that div that we set that ref on. So we'll say event, mouse event, and usually you'll like handle this in like a good component library or something, but this is just because we're doing everything kind of manually. This is our little workaround. I'm not gonna make it too complicated. It's just gonna be good enough. So we'll say search ref.current. So if the div that the search ref is on exists, and if search ref, or if not search ref dot current dot contains event dot target as node. And what this basically means is whenever I click on something, whatever I click on is going to have, like, that click event will have a target, meaning where I actually clicked it. So if I clicked outside of the div, then we will set is searching to false. Okay. And down here, we will add a, like I said, this is not the best way to do it. You should not be doing event listeners, but I mean, this is the this is the best way I could think of for the time being. But yeah, like I said, you'll ideally use a component library to handle this. But this should be good enough for now. So we'll say on the mouse down event, we'll handle click outside, and then when the component unmounts, we will remove the event listener mouse down handle click outside. So we can save that. And now when we Minneapolis, let's see if I get this right the first time. Wow, I got it right the first time. That's crazy. Then I click outside, it disappears. Cool. So so that's the click outside handler. The other thing is there's an error currently where let me just make sure that I am. Yeah, so I'm going to reset my permissions here, right? So it's going to ask me for my location. I don't want to give it my location. I need to be able to show an error when that happens. So inside of handle use current location, right down underneath the catch. So it's going to be right here. We're going to, right here, we're going to say error brother. There we go. And in here, we're going to say console.error getting current location, like that. And I'll also throw up an alert. Unable to get your current location. Please check your browser permissions and try again. Okay. And then the last thing we want to do is just add because this is like a fat if statement, we want to add an else. So we'll say else alert geolocation is not supported by your browser. Save that. And we'll use current location. I will not allow, and then it'll throw an alert saying unable to get your current location. Please check your browser permissions and try again. Cool. So yeah, because I don't want to give it the permission, this will give me some user feedback. And now we're basically done with the main functionality of the application. So what we're going to be doing moving forward is just cleaning up the styles and doing some quality of life stuff with the actual code base. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're actually going to head down. Let's minimize everything first. So we'll do Control K, Control 0. So that'll just minimize all of the code blocks. And inside of app, we're going to here. Let's copy everything from function app down, and right above app.tsx, we're going to create a new component. We're going to call it prayer times display.tsx, and down here, let's just make sure we actually close this. So I know it's kind of lazy of me to just copy a bracket when I could just type it, and we'll say return open close parentheses. This is just for now while we get everything sort of set up. So rename this to prayer times display. We don't need the theme context here because that's still going to be done in the app. We're not going to split that out. And now we can kind of go back down into app, and we can actually get rid of this these lines from the app component. Then inside of the app component, we're going to grab everything from, where is it? No, this is too far down. Maybe I shouldn't have collapsed everything. We're going to grab everything from the date selector down. So date selector, as well as this div right here. And we're going to cut that. And then we're going to head up into the return for prayer times display. And in here, we're going to actually open up a div. We'll give it a class of space y4. We'll close that div, and then we will paste what we just copied in here. So we have our date selector, and we have our prayer time display. So then we can actually grab this, and I am going to add an export. I actually don't want to define it like this. I like to define things as arrow functions typically. So it's just a force of habit for me. So, oh God, I copied too much. Oh well, we'll do it this way. All right, Control-Shift-K to remove that. Cool. And then we just need to add a curly brace. There we go. So yeah, it's just a little nitpicky thing. I don't like to have, I actually don't like declaring functions like this. I don't know why. And then let's head back down into the app, and right underneath the location search, which should be somewhere over here, there it is, we are going to add prayer times display, save that, and there shouldn't be any actual changes from what you can see. Also, you might have noticed a day has passed. I am fasting, so I had to take a break from the last section. So a little bit of inside baseball for you. But yeah, so that's so now that's kind of been split out into its own component. We can start actually redoing some of the logic when it comes to like some of the conditions over here. So first one we're going to want to do is we're going to add a early return if the loading state, if the location is not defined yet. So we'll just say return early when no location, and we'll say if not location. So if location is falsy, then we will grab this block right here. So we can just cut that, and we can get rid of this and paste, or we'll type return open parentheses that. Cool. Then what we can do is let's actually get rid of this div right here. So we'll get rid of the class, and then we will remove the div. So it's just going to be a React fragment. And because we're doing an early return if there's no location, we can actually get rid of this falsy check. So we can say it like that, and we can also one step at a time. So that's that part. The next part is let's also get rid of this div. So we'll first remove this class name. We'll make this a React fragment because we don't actually need to have a min height. It's gonna sort itself out. That was probably a mistake on my part initially, but it's okay. Everything gets fixed eventually. So inside of the error condition, we're actually going to change this so that instead of it being like an error end-to-end, it's going to be one long if else. So let's say error question mark. So if there's an error, and we'll remove that brace and then add an else. So if there's an error, let's actually let's add a margin bottom over here just for funsies, because this is it's going to be a little bit tight otherwise. So if there's an error, then we're going to render this. Let's actually clean this up too, because that was kind of unnecessary. There we go. So cool. So if there's an error, then we will show the error. Otherwise, we'll handle the loading state. So we'll say is loading, and then this will be a question mark. So this is going to be if error, then this, else if is loading, then loading prayer times, and then we'll do another else if, and this time it'll be prayer times. So because we're already checking for location, we can get rid of that condition. So we'll say if prayer times, question mark, then we show the prayer times, and then lastly at the end, we'll say null, like that. And hopefully if I save this, it works. Cool. So now that we kind of got the logic all split up and cleaned up, I actually do want to render these chunks as individual components, just so that it's easier to manage in the long run. So let's go ahead and cut the this paragraph from the early return, and we'll add a component that we haven't created yet in here. We'll call it no location message, and up top, right above prayer times display, we will say export const no location message equals athan, and this will just return that. Cool. So then we will cut the error from here, like so, and we'll head up. Actually, before we head up, we'll call this error message, and because we're actually passing down, or what we're calling a method, we need to pass down, we're using the error and the method actually, so we need to actually pass these down as props. So we'll say error is error, and we'll say on retry, and we'll pass the fetch prayer times, like so, and then we can close that, and then above the prayer times display, we'll say export const error message equals athan, and I do need to define these, so they're going to be error and on retry, and let's actually put these in curly braces, like so that we can type them as error is a string, and on, why does this pop-up keep jumping in my face like that? On retry is a function that returns void, and wondering why this is giving me an issue because these are all supposed to be in a curly brace, like so. There we go. Okay, and inside of the component, we'll return what we had copied, like that, and instead of fetch prayer times, it'll be on retry, like so. Let's also change this from a paragraph to a div, and we'll just need to change the closing tag as well. And we can, I don't know if there's an extra space there, I can't tell. No, there's not. Okay, cool. So now we have the error message and the no location message split up into their own components. Let's also, where is it? Let's also grab the loading times, because this is going to change significantly later, so might as well get this out of the way now. So we'll say loading. We're going to be using a skeleton later, so we'll just call it that. So we'll say loading skeleton. Doesn't take in any props, and then we'll define it as export const. I don't know why I'm exporting, but export const loading skeleton equals athan. Return that. Cool. And lastly, we want to grab this, the prayer times content, and we will actually call this prayer times content. And this will accept the prayer times like that. And then we will define it up top, right underneath the loading skeleton. Again, export const prayer times content, and this is going to be take in the following props. It's going to take in prayer times, and prayer times is going to be typed as prayer times, and then it'll return. It'll return what we had copied or what we had cut a second ago, and there we go. So now what we want to do is actually clean up the layout of the prayer times. So I don't like this format because it's not really doing anything. So we're going to create some prayer cards. So these are just going to be cards that contain the actual like specific content for each prayer slot of the day. So we will call this prayer card .tsx, and it's going to take the following interface. I'm just going to paste this in here. So we do want to export this because we're going to export it later. So it's going to take in the name of the prayer, the time, as well as an icon to display for that prayer. So then right underneath that, we'll say export const prayer card equals athan. And like we said, it's going to take in name, time, icon, and these are going to be typed as prayer card props. And then inside of the actual function body, we're going to say const formatted time equals. So each one of the prayers is going to be accepting the time, so we want to format the time that's provided to us. So we're going to use the utility function that we defined earlier. So we'll say format to 12-hour time. Okay. Then we're going to return, we're going to return the following JSX. So feel free to pause and copy this. So this is just going to be the HTML and classes for the actual cards. So once you have paused and copied this over, let's head back down to the prayer times content. And here we're going to modify quite a bit actually. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of this. We'll just turn this into a React fragment. And we can keep the font, we can keep the paragraph up top for now. This is going to change later. But over here, we're going to add a div. And this div is actually going to contain the following classes. It's going to be a grid. So go ahead and pause and copy that. And let's move. Actually, we don't need these anymore, but we'll just keep them there for reference for a second. So what we're going to do is for each one of the time slots, we're going to say prayer card. Actually, maybe there is a faster way to do this. So let's cut this, paste that there like so, and we're going to select the opening p tag for each one of these. We're going to change these elements to prayer card like so. And inside of each one, because we still have the selections, we're going to hit right, and then we're going to hit Control Shift right to select that word. We're going to hit Control X, and then we're going to hit delete to get rid of that colon. Then we're going to hit the up key, and here we're going to say name equals quote. Oh my God, I cannot type. Quote, paste. So now we have our names. So we're going to repeat this process for the format 12 hour. So we're going to double click this, Control D for all of these, and then we can just actually delete this, and we can also delete the parentheses, and then we're going to hit Control Shift right, Control X to copy that, delete, and we can get rid of these braces, and then left, and then we're going to say time equals curly braces, paste. So now we have pasted the actual time. And the last thing that we're going to do, this part is going to be a little bit manual, unfortunately. So this one is going to be defining the icon. So for the first one, it's going to be icon equals curly brace, and I'm just going to copy this. Well, no, not yet. In here, we'll use the moon icon. We'll give it a size of 20. So this is for Fajr. So because the moon is still well, the moon actually isn't still out, but it is kind of still out actually, because this is when the prayer time is still yeah, like the sun hasn't risen yet. So let's go ahead and copy this line, paste it down here, but instead of FI moon, we'll say FI sunrise for sunrise. And for the Dhuhr, we'll say FI sun, like so. And for Asr, we'll just say FI sun as well, because I don't know of a better one for that. And then for Maghrib, we will say, I don't think there's a FI sunset. There is. Wow. Okay, FI sunset. And then for the last one, we'll just say FI moon, like so. And we're getting errors because we have an extra space. So what we'll do is we don't actually need any like open area. So I'll just select all those, and then we'll just backslash and close them. And I must have removed that space earlier here, so we can just set it up like that. There we go. So now when we save it, there we go. We have some nice little cards with little icons, right? So there's, oh wow, the sunset one looks really nice. So there's sunset, sunrise, Asr. I wonder if there's like afternoon. Let's see. FI after, there isn't. FI sun. Well, can't have everything, right? Cool. So we'll just say FI sun. And I wonder if this one has noon. No, we would be way too lucky to have noon. Okay, that's fine. So there we go. So now we can address this title over here, because this kind of looks really terrible. So let's head right over here to the top, and I'm just going to paste in some JSX. Feel free to pause and copy. So we'll just remove everything in here. So go ahead and copy this, and we're getting an error here because we need to import the location to the component in order to use this. So down here we'll say location, and we will add the prop type location, like so. So go ahead and pause and make sure to copy this. And once you're done with that, we can head down to prayer times content, and we'll just add the location, or we'll just pass down the location to it. So now when we save it, we have this nice little location display. Now, for quality of life purposes and just better UX in general, I like to be able to tell what the upcoming prayer is. So to do that, we're going to first need to add a utility function underneath utils.ts, where the format to 12-hour util is. I'm just going to paste this in here. So you can pause and copy this method or this function over. And I might need to actually zoom out so that you can see all this. There you go. So go ahead and pause and copy this over. And all this is doing is it accepts a prayer time, and it just gives you the remaining time in hours and minutes until that prayer time. Nothing really super complicated here. Should be pretty straightforward. So once you get that copied, let's head down to the prayer card, which was, let's see, it was right over here. And we're going to start adding some stuff in here so that we can actually display this in the time card, or in the prayer card, excuse me. So first thing we're going to want to do is in the prayer card props, we're going to add a is next Boolean property. And we're going to need to add this over here. So we'll say is next, like so. And then down here, we'll say const time until. So we'll say if is next is true, then get time until the time that we're passing in, and otherwise empty string. Okay. So first thing we're going to want to do is it's just down here. We want to before the second, or within the second div, we're going to add a conditional. block right here. So we'll say is next. Where's the and? Time until and that. And in here, I'm just going to paste in some styles. So this is just going to be a div with the following styles. There you go. And in here, we'll say in time until, like so. And let's actually modify the classes over here. Let's add a conditional so that way, like the well, before we do that, I'll actually show you what this looks like so that you can get a good sense of why we would want to modify it. Oh, actually, I forgot that we actually need another function. So let's head down to the prayer times display. Yeah, let's head down to prayer times display. And here we're actually going to use, yeah. So here we're going to paste this method, this function. So go ahead and pause and copy this over. So all this function is doing is just going through the current day's prayer times and figuring out what the next prayer of the day is. And then if it's the last prayer of the day, then there is no next prayer of the day. So like if Aisha, for example, is already passed, then the next prayer is actually going to be Fajr. So yeah, that's all that's happening over here. So once you get this copied down, let's then go into the prayer times display, and under the use effect, we will say const next prayer equals get next prayer times, like so. And the way we're going to use this is we're actually going to pass this down to the prayer times content. So we'll say next prayer equals next prayer, like so. But then we actually need to add this to the prayer times content. So we'll add the property next prayer, or the prop, I should say, next prayer, and this is going to be of type string or null. And then for each one of the prayer cards, underneath the icon, I'm just gonna double click all these, hit Control D a bunch of times, and then I'm gonna press the end key. So that's gonna take me to the end of the line, hit enter, and then I'm gonna say is next equals, open parentheses, next prayer equals, and for the first one, it's going to be Fajr. Second one is going to be sunrise. Third one is going to be Dhuhr. There we go. Fourth one is going to be Asr, Maghrib, and Aisha, like so. So I am having a type error. Let me figure out what's happening here. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. My TypeScript engine is having a a weird little error there. So there we go. So sorry about that. That's a little bit of a technical difficulty, but there we go. So now you'll see that we actually have the time. And the last thing that we're going to do to just make sure that this right here pops out a little bit more. Inside of the prayer card, we're going. Let me just cut all of these styles. Which you conveniently can't see. I'm gonna need to zoom out, sorry. So we're gonna cut all of the styles from the first div, like that. And I'm gonna zoom back in so you can see. There we go, that's better. So we're gonna change this to a curly brace and a backticks. And we're gonna paste those styles in there, but we're actually gonna make them conditional. And what I mean by that is, we're going to have the rounded large border and transition all. We're going to take these styles. These are going to be common. And Then we're going to add a function in here, or actually I forget what the term for this is, but basically we're going to execute a ternary operator in here. So we're going to say is next. So if is next is true, then we're going to want to render a I'm actually going to just grab the border gray background. Yeah, so I'm going to grab these like that. I also want to grab the dark mode as well as the hovers. So I'll just grab everything like that. And I realize I still have the padding, so I'm going to move the padding up here. So we'll say P4 up 4. So if is next, wait, what am I doing? Wrong one, sorry. This needs to go up here. So P4 like that. And then I'm going to paste the rest of the styles here. And let me just make sure these are correct. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to actually copy this, and I'm going to say else and paste that. And the reason I'm doing that is because I just didn't want to type all this all over again. So instead of gray, we'll use blue. We'll do 500 for light mode. The background will be blue 50. And let's actually get rid of the hover. We don't really need that for the active. And then for dark mode, we'll say the border is going to be blue 400. And the background is going to be blue 20, like that. And we can also get rid of this dark hover. So if it's next, it's going to be this blue color. And then if it's not as next, then it's just going to be the regular style that we had before. So we can save that, and whoa, that looks terrible. Oh, I'm dumb. This is supposed to be 900 divided by 20. There we go. So that way we can have opacity. I don't know how I missed that. So there we go. So now let's quickly go ahead and fix our loading skeleton, because I realized, here we'll hit Control-K, Control-0, so it's easier to navigate. So the loading skeleton, there we go. I think I said location skeleton, my bad. So the loading skeleton, we want it to actually look like a skeleton, so it's basically going to be the same tile layout as this, but with blank shapes. Kind of like when Netflix is loading up and it just shows you a bunch of like pulsating rectangles. So sort of like that deal. So just go ahead and pause and copy this Tailwind. And basically all this is doing is when we actually go back and forth, you'll see, I don't know if you caught that, but yeah, so you can kind of see the faint little outline. It's kind of fast because this API is pretty fast, but now it looks a little bit more like the cards that are behind it. And then once you're done with that, let's just modify the no location message so it looks a little bit better than this single paragraph. So basically, like, instead of having, let me just clear out my local storage so you can see what I'm talking about. So we delete that, refresh. So this kind of looks atrocious. So we want to clean that up a little bit. So we're just going to add, I'm just going to paste in some, like a little bit of a cleaner template. So there you go. Go ahead and pause and copy this. Make sure to import FI clock like so. And now you have this little, this nice little card layout. And once you get that set, we will also update the error, which you probably can't actually see right now. You're very rarely going to see it because I don't think I've had much errors with this API. But in the case that we do have it, here's a little bit of a cleaner aesthetic for you. So again, go ahead and pause, copy this over if you want. And the last thing that we want to do is make some slight modifications to the actual header, because it kind of looks atrocious right now. So let's go to, I'm just going to look up header. Oh wow, I didn't realize there's so many headers. Add a caret in front, there we go. So I'm going to replace the styles of this outer div over here with just the MX Auto and the max width of 3XL. We're going to add another div inside of here. And this div is going to have flexbox and justify between. And then we're going to add another div inside of here as well with the following styles to center everything inside of it. And inside of here, we're going to add a mosque icon. So we're going to import this from React Icons like so. And then we're going to cut this H1 header and paste it right next to the MD mosque. Save that. And there you go. There's the mosque and then times. And then for the button underneath it, we're going to replace its styles with these. So go ahead and pause, copy that. And what we're also going to do is we're going to cut this button and we're going to paste it inside of this div. So that way it goes to the end like so. And the last thing that we're going to do is inside of this final div, we're going to add a paragraph with the following styles, which is just basically a subtitle with some nice little text. And there you go. There's a nice little athan app for you to use, to abuse, to why am I still having type errors? Let's restart our TypeScript server. Okay, it was just my TypeScript server. So cool. So sorry. So there you go. So now you have your nice little athan app. It's responsive. It's got light mode and dark mode. You can search for cities. So you do have the use current location, which I do not want to dox myself. So I'll say never allow. Going to show me an error. And then we can say we'll do Madrid. There's a Madrid in the United States. That's crazy. There you go, Madrid, Spain. And now you know that it is very late in the day. And the next prayer, for me at least, is the Asr time prayer. And it's going to be in 2 hours and 47 minutes. So there you go. Hopefully a short and sweet tutorial for you to practice your React, learn a little bit of Zustand, and play with the new Tailwind v4. And yeah, so that's all we had for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something today.